Broadcasting from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Welcome to The Gailey Show. I'm your host, JP Derek Bogosian. We are your answer to the question, what is a queer thing we can read, watch, or go to in the Twin Cities and beyond? Also, a mission of the show is to support queer creatives anywhere they are working throughout LGBTQ entertainment and beyond. And also, I want to tell folks that we have a special update about The Gailey Show that is forthcoming. So stay tuned to your devices and to this space. You can follow us on Instagram at @the_Gailey Show. Trust me, this is an update that you're going to want to know about. So stay tuned. Announcement coming in December. In the meantime, I have never interviewed anybody ever in my life from the ballet. So I cannot tell you how excited I am to be talking to our first guest today, who is the co-founder, or founder rather, of Ballet Co Laboratory here in the Twin Cities. They have their current show, their holiday show is Nutcracker and Wonderland. Just wait to hear what this is about. Welcome, please, to The Gailey Show, Zoe Henrot.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Which is, Zoe and I were chatting beforehand. Zoe is a French-Belgian-American citizen, and I am a dual French-U.S. citizen. And so I was, that's the French pronunciation, correct? Zoe Henrot.
Yeah.
What would the American pronunciation be for folks?
Usually I get Zoe Henrot, if people aren't paying attention.
My last name is not French, even though it's very French to hear that pronounced with a French accent. But yeah, the things that I get with when folks aren't paying attention is a delightful. So I empathize with the pain. But Zoe, tell us about, first let's start with Nutcracker and Wonderland, because when I started reading the show description, I started laughing in a good way, because I'm like, what an amazing idea for a holiday production. So tell us, what is Nutcracker and Wonderland about? So
something to know about ballet in the United States, but also in the world now, you have to have a Nutcracker. It is a rite of passage, not only for the students, also for the professional dancers, and then for your audiences in your community. It has been a tradition for a really long time, one that I've been part of since I was 6 years old.
Wow.
But especially after college, I went to a liberal arts college, and as a queer woman, I kept looking at the storyline, and I was like, there are a couple things that I don't feel I can continue to represent. So when I founded Ballet Co Laboratory, the founding company, and I sat down and we had a conversation about what is Nutcracker supposed to be and how can we make it our own and still hold on to tradition, but embrace something new. And we've always wanted to do an Alice in Wonderland as well. And the more we talked about it, we found, well, they're both coming of age stories for young women. And in both of them, there are kind of these weird male figures who, quote unquote, guide them through this adventure. What if we took away those male figures and instead they meet each other, they fall in love, and their coming of age is really also an identity coming of age, being fearless, essentially. It works really well. It's the Tchaikovsky score, which is a beautiful piece of music. Tchaikovsky as well had a queer lifestyle. And a lot of people don't know that. So I think he would love our iteration of Nutcracker and Wonderland. And so they meet in party scene, and then the battle is between cards and rats. Clara and Alice share the pas de deux, both in Act 1 and Act 2. And then Act 2 is all Wonderland. So, instead of appropriating cultures in Act 2, it can also be done as candy for some Nutcrackers. But we chose to really celebrate the Wonderland characters and help usher Alice and Clara into becoming more empowered about who they are and who they are together.
Absolutely delightful. And yeah, I remember doing a book report on Tchaikovsky because I was a violinist growing up in school. And I remember in 8th grade doing that, which I was very proud of myself, but also trying to figure out why did I even say that, because I got up in front of the entire orchestra and said, and he was gay, and I was so terrified of it, being outed. And I remember the look on the conductor's face. She was fuming. fuming. It was like this closely guarded secret, like Abraham Lincoln. We're not supposed to talk about the fact that he was queer. But this show sounds so, and it is an original production that you all put together, and it is absolutely, I love it. I love it. How do folks get to go to it? Like, when are performances?
We are at the O'Shaughnessy on St. Catherine's University, December 20th, 21st, 22nd. So tickets can be purchased through our website, balletcollaboratory.org. And this is our first time performing at the O'Shaughnessy, so we're excited to be there. Wow. In the past, we've performed Nutcracker and Wonderland at the Kohl Center, which unfortunately has closed. So we're really excited to be at the O'Shaughnessy. There's free parking. There's plenty of great restaurants around, so you can really make either an evening of it or like a brunch date of it. We have matinee and evening shows.
Well, brunch, I mean, what's scarier than that?
I
know. So, Zoe, talk to me about, because you're the first ballet person that I've ever, and what would be the appropriate term? What's the queer term? Like ballerina, ballet person,
I usually say
ballerina,
like dancer. I don't know. I mean, I feel like even in ballet these days, you have to be able to embrace so many different types of dance forms, even acrobatics for certain things. So I call everyone in the company dancers. I call the students in the school dancers. Dancers.
Talk to me about what it was like. I mean, at 6 years old, you were starting to dance. What was it like being a queer person navigating that art form? Because I literally don't know anything about it. So is it like super inclusive? It was sort of like there was challenges to it. Like, what is that? What is that world like?
I feel really blessed that I grew up at Boulder Ballet. I'm from Colorado originally, and they were also all about original narratives. And so I never really felt like stifled by the heteronormativity of the dance form until I became a professional. I came out in college where I met my wife, and it was in college that I also was embracing more like contemporary type of styles of dance and things like that. And it's really after college when I started going into the professional dance scene. It was kind of like, wait a second, I'm always pretending to be in love with someone, and that person always happens to be identified as a man. And it's actually my wife who gave me the idea for Nutcracker and Wonderland. I don't know if I would have had, if I would have been as encouraged if she hadn't really been supporting me. And she just said, why don't we never see two women falling in love in a classical ballet? We can see it in a contemporary ballet, but why not classical? Why can't they share a pas de deux, in point shoes, in tutus, the whole thing? But it happens to be two women, and specifically two more feminine presenting women. And the first year that we premiered this in 2018, I was terrified. I did not know. It's such a tradition. And I think also in Minnesota, tradition is like so huge, and it's really ingrained, especially into the holiday season. And I just didn't know how people were going to feel. And I saw her after the first show, and she said that the snow pas de deux like brought tears to her eyes. And if she had seen that when she had been 6 or something like that, maybe she would have tried ballet. So, Nutcracker is the #1 ballet that introduces people who have never seen ballet to the art form.
Really?
So I think we need to take that seriously. We need to make sure that not only can little girls who want that cavalier and that prince see themselves in the art form, but we also want all of the other, there are so many other people out there who want their stories to be represented on stage. And that's really what Ballet Collaboratory is about. Every narrative that we present on stage is original in some way, and is not from the 1800s. And we make that decision very specifically because art should imitate life, and life is changing. So we need to keep up with it while still respecting and bowing to what came before us, because that's really important. You can't rewrite history if you don't know it. And so we still very much teach classic forms. We teach the classic variations and pas de deux and all of that in our school. Our company presents some of them as well. But when it comes to the productions that we put on stage, we really want them to speak to everyone. And we want everyone who's watching it to be able to connect with a character or a storyline, or, even just laugh while you're watching a ballet. Like, having a sense of humor, I think, is really important. And a lot of people think the ballet is like, nose in the air. You have to dress up and you have to like clap when you're supposed to and not talk and all of that. We're trying to change that. It should be an active call and response.
Absolutely. And for us Philistines who don't know what a pas de deux is,
Yes.
is that like a special, like the lovers dance? Or, I mean, I'm trying to intuit from what you're saying, how is it? Pas de deux.
Pas de deux. So it's a step of two. There is also pas de trois, pas de quatre, all of that, right? So it's how many dancers are on stage. Normally a pas de deux, because it is two individuals, has some sort of love affair intermingled in there. So the traditional of the Nutcracker, the first pas de deux, it can be one of two things. Most of the time it's Clara and this Nutcracker who's just randomly sprang to life. Or sometimes the Snow Queen and King will do something there. It kind of depends on the version. And then in Act 2, it's usually the Sugar Plum and the Cavalier who have their pas de deux. So, it's been a learning curve, especially for two female identifying dancers, to learn partnering, to learn how to support each other, because in partnering pas de deux, it's a lot of physics, like where's your center of gravity and how can I use your inertia to like go into this next move. And the two dancers who play Alice and Clara have just been so willing to try this on, and every year they get a little gutsier. Like this year at one point they were like, I can kiss her on the cheek here. It's like, great, let's do it. Because I also don't want to force them to do something they're not comfortable with, but to see the enthusiasm of the cast and then also the enthusiasm of the audience during the show. It's a really fun way to kick off the holidays.
I can't imagine are you all like the only ones doing this? Like, you must be the most queer. I don't know the ballet field though, so I imagine this is pretty unique what you all are doing in the country.
It is really unique. It's very different for sure. And I think it's hard to get in the middle of tradition, and I think that's what we do best. We kind of get in the middle of the status quo. With a very traditional art form of ballet. So everyone's doing it, every art form is doing it, and we just hope that more ballet companies and schools out there will embrace that there's a whole spectrum of people and communities, and we need to dance for all of them.
It's so innovative. Félicitations, Zoe. Congratulations. Give us the website one more time for folks to how they can get tickets.
It's balletcolaboratory.org.
Perfect. And any social media handles, real quick?
Yes, just Ballet Collaboratory. No punctuation or anything like that on Instagram, and then Facebook as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Zoe, for joining us today on The Gaily Show.
Thanks for having me.
And joining me now is a very special guest, singer-songwriter Michelle Aldritch-Goldstein joins us here on The Gaily Show. She has a new single out called Square Peg. We're going to listen to it later in the show, but for right now, Michelle, welcome to The Gaily Show.
Thank you for having me. This is great. I appreciate it.
Well, when you reached out to us and shared your single, like I was in the car and we listening to it with both of my partners, and we were like, we have to talk to Michelle. So tell us about your new single.
Okay, so Square Peg was my song about growing up kind of in an area where it was difficult to be myself. And I was an introvert, and growing up feeling different because I was gay. And so that's mainly what this song is about, is kind of how it felt to feel different, but feel like I couldn't be different where I was, living, and that was difficult for me. And so through this song, I kind of wanted to make this so that maybe kids or people who might feel like they can't be themselves, to encourage them to be themselves. So that's mainly what the song is about. And
it has a country vibe to it.
Yes. So I I grew up in an area where kind of rock and roll and country were the main genres of music that we listened to. And, I just feel country. It's in my roots, but country music traditionally doesn't really embrace gay themes.
Yeah.
And so I have to say that this song, I didn't use the word gay in the song or anything like that, but and I've seen that with gay artists. We might not use pronouns or things like that, but in my video for this song, I thought I really want people to understand what this song is about. And so I had my wife in the video with me to kind of make it clear what that was about in the video. And I hope that country music is going to be more inclusive on that level. I know progress has been made in recent years on that, in that regard. So
there are like a handful
a handful
artists that are there, and I'm blanking on the one. What's the cowboy with the mask?
Oh gosh, I know who you mean, but I can't think of his name.
He
but
was just here earlier this spring. But tell us more about your music career.
Well, I played music when I was a kid and in high school, and after that, I was looking for work and I was trying to find, I guess, a career where I could survive. And so I just never thought that music, was going to be that career for me. So I kind of let it go, and I didn't play music at all for 25 years. And then back in 2010, I bought a keyboard and started playing with friends in the basement type of thing. And just ever after that, I kept going. I played in a couple of cover bands, and I just decided I always wanted to write music. And so that's what I'm doing now, all these years later.
Wow. That's got to be such a heady experience to be doing it now.
It's interesting, and because I didn't play for so many years, I would say my piano skills are marginal, but you can fake it till you make it in a sense. But no, I should say that as a songwriter, which is my primary goal, I'm not trying to necessarily be a performer or anything like that. But as a songwriter, you just need basic skills like, chording on the keyboard, that type of thing. So, so I would say my skills are basic. And, but I can still write music and I can still perform. So.
What has that been like for you now going through that journey? You have a few singles that you've released. I mean, what's the personal impact been for you, transformationally maybe?
Yeah, it's been cathartic for sure. And, I keep asking myself, why am I doing this? Because I'm also working in my, nursing profession. And so it's a lot. But I feel like something in me feels compelled to do this. And maybe I always wanted to do this and I pushed it back because I needed to do what I needed to do or whatever. And so, it's been impactful for me on the level that I feel like I'm finally coming into myself and I'm finally doing what I always wanted to do. So it's great.
Wow.
And even if nothing ever happens with it, I'll be happy because I'm doing something I always wanted to do, and it's never too late to do that.
What a great message. And it's such a great song. I can't wait to share it with folks here later on in the programming. And I don't want to sound like frou-frou about it because I was a violinist and a pianist, in my youth. And there was something very healing. What I mean by frou-frou, there's something very healing about music. And so I imagine that there's a lot of dovetailing between music and your nursing career, yeah?
Yes, they're both art forms, I guess you might say. I mean, nursing involves science, but there are healing elements to both of those things. And I feel that, nurses, we often say, oh, we're healing other people, but what people may not realize is that we're being healed by helping to heal others. And the same is true for music.
Wow.
that creating music is healing, and hopefully it heals other people when they listen to music. You know, the music that I make, for example, it's healing for me to make it, but I hope it heals other people who listen to it.
There is something about music, and I've never been able to, like, and I'm going to fail right now describing it. The best metaphor I've come up with is tuning forks, right? Those pitchforks, you know, that you use, where for folks who don't know them, they're a piece of metal. They look like a pitchfork, and you know, tap it on a piece of metal and it gives you a pitch, right?
Right.
But if you have another one across the room, the sound vibrations go all the way across the room, and they start vibrating the other one, regardless of if you move it or not. And it also gives off a pitch. And to me, that was the perfect metaphor of what music can do in a healing sense and a unifying sense, is that you can hear it. And even if you're not playing, you know, yourself, even if you have no musical ability whatsoever, it can just get into your bones and make something vibrate there that you may not even realize was needing to vibrate, that was needing to connect. It's just such a amazing thing that we have. It's magic, absolute magic.
Yes, I like that analogy. That's really good. Really good.
So what of I mean, picking up music at this time in your, well, I mean, picking up music anytime in your life can be like tricky or whatever, but you've released these singles. I mean, they're on Spotify. Like, what has that process been like for you?
Well, it's been a journey for sure. Yeah, I mean, I have 7 listeners on Spotify, I think, you know, and so what
we're gonna get you more than that.
What it does for me is it, you know, I have to be realistic about my expectations about this. Let's just say that, and just let it be whatever it's going to be, you know, and just do my best with it. And if people like it, that's a goal. You know, I hope people might like it and enjoy the music, but I have to keep my expectations realistic, and we'll just see what happens with it.
Are there plans for any live performances?
I'm not ruling that out entirely, but
good.
for right now, my plan is to write songs, and you know, there are many opportunities on that level if I could just get in there somehow, you know, and even with me performing my own songs, because I do sing on my tracks, so I consider them like a fully produced demo, let's say. But I can still release them, and I have released some of them. There are many more to come. And I can send them to sync licensing opportunities, which is like maybe a song could be in a commercial, or, you know, or a movie or something like that. And so those are opportunities. And then maybe someone would pick up one of my songs. That's also a thought, you know. And but I may perform someday. I'm not ruling it out entirely. So
I'm glad to hear that. Do you have any upcoming singles?
Yes, I just released a single called Shaking Off the Chains that just within this past week. And I have another one coming out in December, and then an EP of 6 songs. And that will include the 6 I've already released. And then after that, more singles are coming. So
perfect. Well, folks, you can find Michelle on Spotify, on all the music platforms. Just look for Michelle Aldritch-Goldstein. We will also include links in our show notes on our website at am950radio.com. We're going to play for you now Square Peg. Everybody, have a great week. We will see you back here next Saturday. Thanks, Michelle, for being on The Gaily Show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Different from the time she could walk, and she felt tongue-tied every time she tried to talk. So misunderstood, she tried hard to be what others wanted her to be. She's a square peg in a round hole world. She's a red jade among diamonds and pearls. Will she be taken down or breaking down? kept herself bottled up inside, until she found someone who turned her life around. Another square peg was found. They were square pegs in a round hole world. They were red jades among diamonds and pearls. Will they be taken down or breaking down for not quite fitting in? Or will they find their confidence? It's great to be unique. It's cool to be true to yourself, unique as she. She's a square peg in a round hole world. She's a red jade among diamonds and pearls. Will she be taken down or breaking down for not quite fitting in? Or will she find her confidence? It's great to be a square peg. It's great to be a square peg. It's great to be a square peg in a round whole world. Great to be a square peg.